SoloMad, previously Beach Kings Gaming.
Hi guys. So before we get started, I guess we'll do a quick little introduction. I'll be one of your shoutcasters for this game. My name in the chat is Slouch Clown. You guys can just call me Slouch, and this is my co-caster.
I am the 10th Doctor. You can also call me Doc, the Doc, or whatever. Any short abbreviation of that I'll respond to. Yeah. First man we have out here.
Sorry, we're gonna get to the pick and ban phase. I'm gonna be writing down some info as the game goes on, so you go ahead and take over, Brett, while I get some of this info going.
Okay, new team this week. We have ShadowBlade Vanguards. Absolutely no former information on them. However, Beach Kings Gaming returns under their new team name, Team SoloMad. Do not confuse it with Team SoloMid, please. It just says TSM there for convenience sake. First band's coming out. Tristana and Elise towards TSM versus Jason Sona at Shadow Vanguards. Tristana and Elise, I'm not actually entirely sure about those bands. I don't really remember Holocaust, or Holocaust, of course, is the AD carry on TSM. I don't really remember him being known for his Tristana. He's more of a...
I don't think he's lost a game with Tristana in this tournament yet.
has
in all of the weeks. Yeah, in all of the weeks, I don't think he's lost a single game with Tristana, so I can see that.
My memory can fail me. I'm not even sure if I remember him playing Tristana at all, but I could be wrong.
I remember the one game he went legendary, like 14.
I remember him playing a lot of Caitlyn actually in the past.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, that's definitely one of his bigger ones. But we also see Zac and Jarving being banned out, so it looks like Thresh is going to be hovered over for Shadow Vanguard here.
Yeah, the Thresh is not a surprising lock-in at all. It did sneak through. Always a very powerful support ever since it came out. A few other picks that got through were all the globals. None of them were even touched in the ban phases. Twisted Fate, Shen. I'm actually surprised to see the Jarvan ban there. Kenwin Jones especially is known for playing that. We've seen him on that a lot. And almost every single game he's been playing Jarvan. With a few exceptions, but mostly Jarvan, so it's surprising to see that banned.
Yeah, we'll see what to do. They could have been doing... The TSM could have been doing a little bit of their research against the enemy team, but... Looks like Karma being hovered over, not too sure about that, but Vayne being hovered over for Holocaust.
I think Karma is no longer a troll pick, and you can thank Gambit Gaming for that.
Absolutely. We'll see if they decide to choose that.
Yeah, if anyone was watching the European LCS this weekend, Diamond, Proxter, and Karma in the jungle twice.
Wait, are you serious?
Games. Yeah, I'm 100% serious. They actually lost the first time, and then won the second time.
Wow, I gotta go check that out later.
If you haven't, definitely go check it out after this tournament, or after we're done today. Karma actually being switched over to Lulu there. Actually, and Nami got through. I can't believe we forgot to talk about that.
Nami. Matt Singh's legendary Nami. Never miss a bubble.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally got that 90% at least rate of landing every single Aqua Prison he throws out. Even if it doesn't mean anything, he just does it to land them sometimes. And yeah, you'll see. You will definitely see
a scary threat, especially with the Vayne, who can do a lot of early game burst damage that a lot of people don't expect out of her. Plus, with the late game hyper carry, it can really help her peel off of people. Just be able to reposition with the bubble and her Tidal Wave, the ultimate coming out from Nami. Really good for helping Vayne re-engage or disengage and reposition herself into a better position in a fight.
Yeah, and Nami is one of those supports that kind of helps Vayne get through the early game a lot better. Tycaller's Blessing especially, it actually synergizes very well with the Silver Bolt's proc. Both actually last for 3 auto attacks, and it gets us slow and synergizes with Vayne's passive as well. Adds a little bit to her burst damage, and it's just great for harassing in general, especially if the bubbles land. It can be a free condemned stun, and it's really just great for zoning for Vayne. If she gets behind, you can just let Matzing do his job and let Holocaust free farm all the time. On the other side, we have a ball delivery system locked in with a Malphite and Orianna. Forgive me if I pronounce this totally wrong. R-0.
That's what I was going to say. R-0, yeah.
And X can be pronounced like a Z sometimes. And Yeah, with the teleport in there as well. Unsurprising on a Malphite, but actually it's a pretty good pick into the matchup. Any attack speed slow, especially from that ground slam, is very powerful late game, and is great for shutting down the Vayne if he can get on top of her. And on
Yeah,
the other
absolutely.
side, we have Kenwin Jones locking in Nunu, and Merlonio kind of sitting on this Udyr here. Um,
We could be
not
seeing a top lane Udyr. Not too sure here.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Both of those champions known as junglers, and yeah, Kensman Jones sits on the smite, so that's definitely a jungle Nunu. Lane Udyr isn't something we have seen a whole lot of since he got a little tweaks to, I believe it was his bear and
It's
tiger stances that got
yeah,
changed most recently.
yeah.
And
They
Phoenix.
changed the way the damage works out on Tiger Stance a little bit. So
And I think it was also the Phoenix. I don't follow Udyr that much because I never play him, so I'm not.
I've never played the guy either. Don't worry
It's
about
like
it.
just like Ezreal before the legendary skin, not the legendary, the ultimate skin came out for him. No one pays attention, and then all of a sudden, Udyr everywhere. So Merlonio, if you don't use Spirit Guard, I'll be very disappointed in you. Nonetheless,
I do want to talk
very
about what we're looking at Shadow Vanguard's team comp so far, with the Thresh, Malphite, and Orianna being for sure locked in. We have just the ability to do huge wombo combos, and then if the Nautilus also gets locked in, they can change CC the enemy team for an incredibly long amount of time. And then with Twitch Spray and Pray hanging out at the back, they could probably decimate the entire team before they even have a moment to react.
Yeah, that's definitely the team comp they're going for here. You can have basically any of the hooks catch them out, get a very good um, shockwave, and because they're all now clumped together from the shockwave, the spray and pray is going to hit anyone locked up in that. It doesn't even matter how spread out they are, the shockwave will bring them into a very not spread out position. We can probably expect Lunatic to go the likes of an Infinity Edge early just for that combo. On the other side, we see kind of, I would say it's a kite heavy comp. But then again, you have the Udyr in there, who's actually, his weakness is kiting. And so far, they don't have really much of an answer for this Wombo combo that SV has right now. Lux, it's not too convincing for me. I'll talk kind of a bit more about the kiting just because that's what I saw at first. Nami, Vayne, both very good at kind of either locking someone in place or keeping them away from you. Then you have the Ice Blast slows, which is even better at that. Um, Throw a Blood Boil on top of the Vayne, and she's just going to be running away from you endlessly. Uh, Lux also is kind of known for that. Her, especially her low, I would say late game cooldowns are a bit lower. Early game they're not so much low, but especially towards the late game, the cooldowns get low enough. If you build cooldown reduction, that you can constantly keep throwing out snares. So you can throw out the slow from your E, and it's really going to keep Vayne safe. They're kind of going for to protect the AD carry comp and double support with that new jungle in there as well.
Absolutely, they have a good amount of CC that can kind of keep people away. Not an extremely tanky team, I would say. So they might get blown up pretty fast. Depends on their build choices, but they do have a lot of CC. If they stand in front of the Vayne with Bear Stance coming out, Aqua Prison and Tidal Wave, Nunu ice balling anybody gets close with the I can't even remember the name, the snare that comes out from Manhiki. They can definitely keep people off Vayne as long as they can. But on the other
Nightbind.
side, they have a lot of champions that could just kind of go right through the CC with the Unstoppable Force comboed in with the Command Protect Shockwave, Thresh going in there with the box, Nautilus's knock up. We can see just a lot. They have a lot of diving potential to just go through that front line.
Yeah, and one thing that SV is lacking right now is actually damage. They are really banking on this kind of wombo combo thing to work. They need to get the Orianna and the Twitch both fed, and without that, all they have is a lot of crowd control, but not enough damage to follow it up. Soul, the longer he stands in the middle of the fight, the more Titan's Wrath is going to do damage. Arta Zero, if he builds something like a Sunfire Cave, he's going to fill kind of the same role. Habit support, no real damage, but he does have a lot of crowd control. If he can get ahead enough to where like the souls, his passive start stacking up, he does have a little more damage, but it's not going to be too significant. So they're really just banking on getting the AD carry and mid laner fed, and then go from there. Try to and on the other side, TSM needs to make sure they're not grouping up.
Yeah,
It's
definitely. Staying too close together, fighting in the jungle is not something TSM should be looking to do in this against this kind of a team comp. because there will be absolutely nowhere to run. If a Nautilus can get a good knock up from his ultimate at the back line, everybody's going to get knocked up with nowhere to go. So they do need to be careful of where they decide to pick their fights.
And I kind of want to talk back about this Lux pick. I'm not, as much as I actually like Lux as a champion, I'm not entirely sold on it working with this composition, and especially against the composition that SV has right now. It's halfway decent for lane. Lux, Orianna, both very high utility burst mages, but as far as looking for late game team fights, it's going to be hard to get through the giant front line that is the Malphite and Nautilus. You're not going to get very many opportunities to land a good combo on the Orianna or the Twitch and melt them before they melt you.
Absolutely. And I think what TSM was kind of lacking was really good, strong, I guess, initiation. They have a good amount of disengage with Tidal Wave. They can engage with Aqua Prison, but landing those in a late game team fight where everybody's kind of all grouped up as five, it's kind of a little bit hard to get those on priority targets. Same with the snare that comes out from Lux. So I think what they were trying to do is just try to get a little bit of CC for their front line that could help initiate fights. Because at the present moment, they don't have a lot to start off fights. They have a lot to disengage them, though.
Yeah, and both of these compositions, if they're going to get behind, they're going to stay behind. Really, if Vayne gets behind in lane, she doesn't really get back in unless you give her free farm. And if she does get that free farm, SV is going to have to look to deny her that. Likewise, on the other side, I already talked about how they only really have 2 damage threats on the team. If they get behind, they're not likely to catch back up with just a minimal threat team.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to point out though that TSM is a really snowbally team. Like I mean, we've all seen the terrors of a Vayne that gets ahead in a lane. It's almost as if she just walks back into lane and you know you're about to die once again. Whereas Twitch does kind of snowball a little bit. He does get that really early insane damage, but it's definitely with Vayne's passive combined with Silver Bolts that really helps her snowball so hard in lane. So if she does get ahead, even by a little bit, it could be extremely scary for Shadow Vanguard to deal with.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm hitting at on this. Like, if you get behind, you're going to stay behind, and it works even more so because both these comps are just so snowbally. Nautilus in particular is one that if he gets ahead, he's not exactly going to carry his team. He can. His shield actually gives him a decent amount of damage once he ranks it up. He hits that power spike a little after level 9 or in that area, but he's just going to be so tanky and so in your face that it just distracts you from hitting anyone else on the team, and it just helps to snowball the rest of his team. And I'm trying to avoid snowball puns with the Nunu in there, but it's kind of the same thing for Kenwin Jones. Um, Obviously snowballs, but he's going to be a really tanky Nunu, and especially with the changes that have been added to the consume buffs from jungle monsters, it's just going to keep him really healthy and really annoying throughout all the game.
Absolutely. So we are getting into the loading screen. I think it is time for the skin intimidation factor. So on the blue side, we have Deep Terror Thresh, Bladecraft Orianna, Abyssal Nautilus, and Gangster Twitch coming out at 4 points. Where purple side has Heartseeker Vayne, Spirit Guard Udyr, and Sorcerer's Lux. So how much do we want to count for Spirit Guard Udyr this time?
I was under the impression that ultimate skins count for 3.
Was it 3?
I thought it was 3. Yeah, legendary was 2, ultimate was 3, and I forget the others. There were a few other rules we had, but I'm pretty sure ultimate was 3.
All right, so then we have a 5-4 advantage for Team SoloMad. So yeah. Team skin intimidation factor goes over to Team SoloMad this game.
Yeah. Also, I don't want to bias too much towards the borders, but there is absolutely no borders or even ribbons on. Actually, there's no ribbons on either team. No borders on SV. 2 golds and 3 silvers on TSM.
We'll see how that plays out. Definitely, solo queue doesn't. Solo queue ratings aren't always the biggest deal, especially in arranged 5 games, because it does definitely come down a lot more to your teamwork. Just a little bit over, I would say, your individual skill, how well you can coordinate with a team and play together.
Yeah, and that's something we see all the time. It's just like And also, I just noticed that Matsing is the one we're waiting on. He hasn't really loaded in at all yet.
I think.
So
Oh, I think we might be
we,
seeing a pause coming out right away here. It doesn't look like he loaded in at all. So yeah, the
yeah,
game has
games.
been paused. So we're gonna wait for Matson to get back in here.
Okay. Never connected. Yeah, we should hopefully not see too much of a delay here. Pauses in this tournament usually don't last too long. It's not like the D-Man and Jat curse where there's infinite technology problems never casting together. But yeah.
I think I remember that game. Wasn't it? Wasn't it the game they counted how many wards were destroyed because nobody wanted to engage in case the computer shut off in the middle of it. So there was like something like 400 wards destroyed that one game.
It was the season 2 Worlds. I believe it
Yeah.
was CLG Europe and World Elite was that game. And
Yeah,
ironically, that was the first Pro Series I ever saw. So
Yeah,
it
that
does
was,
not get. I can never forget that. It was like they had to end up remaking the game like twice, I believe.
Yeah,
And
I think I remember that. Yeah, didn't they actually have to call off the game on that one day, and then they actually just redid it the next day, saying just screw it. This is too much. We're just gonna delay this another day.
it got to the point where they eventually did end up fighting, and the network shut down in the middle of the team fight.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
remember
remember.
that.
I think I almost remember Wicked and Snoopy taking out someone, and then all of a sudden it froze, and then everyone was going nuts.
I remember the boredom was kind of like getting to the crowd a little bit, so everybody started cheering every time a ward was killed. But looks like the game is about to be unpaused. Matsing has reconnected, and we are getting into the first game of the day. ShadowBlade Vanguard versus Team SoloMad. Let's see what you guys want to win in chat. You can use the MoveBot function to vote for who you want to see win.
Yes, that is a thankfully new feature we have this week. We're welcoming MoveBot onto our crew, as he has been on many crews in the past. Anyway, fairly just looking at where everyone's running out of their base, a very defensive start from both teams. Actually, a few pings towards that tri-bush from TSM right now. They might look to either catch someone out in that area or just possibly invade. And it isn't new. An invade is always a very high possibility.
Sorry, excuse me. I do want to point out what Merloni decided to start out his items. Fortitude Pot, a ward, and a potion. Typically what you can kind of see with
30 seconds until
sorry, I just wanted to see what's going down in bottom. We actually see a lot of aggression going down into the tri-brush. It is warded. They do see that all four members of TSM are going in, heading over to the red rush. Twitch and Habit are going to be backing away, just hanging out near that bush. Don't want to get too caught out. Looks like they're just going to be going for a red steal here. Matt Singh putting a ward in that bush, seeing Twitch and Thresh around that area, and looks like they're just going to back away from it.
Yeah, and all of SV is already reacting right now. They're all moving in towards this area. Merlonio is still upwards in that jungle. He put a ward on the blue buff just to get more vision on that Nautilus as he gets through his jungle route. A lot of, actually only the 2 aggressive wards put out by TSM right now, but there were enough defensive wards to catch them out. And legendary bubble.
Matt Singh landing the first bubble of the game. 100% accuracy thus far. Looks like they're going to back away from the red though. Don't want to risk giving up a first blood just yet. Going to head over to their own jungle and get the game underway, just doing their own buff safely.
And it looks like Merlonio is actually going to successfully get a blue steal here. Of course, he's all on his own. He doesn't have any leash helping him out there, but he should be able to just finish it off. Maybe.
Malphite's actually heading his way right now. Doesn't actually go to check out the blue buff. Merloni dropping down really low. Does get his level 2. Let's see if he decides to head over to lane or just decides to recall off of that. He does get the level 2 though, so he won't be ridiculously behind in lane.
Yeah, but that's going to shut the Nautilus down a lot. They managed to pick up their own blue buff on the other side for Kenwin Jones there, and that's going to really put Nautilus behind. We already talked about the snowballing potential they had. If he doesn't have that blue buff off the start, he's going to be really hindered and not really able to help his team out as early as he would like to.
What I did want to mention about what Merloni started in the top lane, the fork pot with the potion. I think what he was going to try to do is go for a little bit of a level 2 cheese that a lot of Udyrs are actually capable of doing. You can get that level 2, run into bear stance before the enemy hits level 2, get the bear stance, drop the ignite, drop the pork pot, drop into tiger stance, and it does a huge amount of burst damage that people just don't expect. You can get a really easy level 2 kill off of that, but he did use that to pick up that blue buff without dying to it. So let's see how aggressive he decides to play in this lane. They are even in levels now. Lane is pushing towards Merloni though, but we do see Nunu heading up around the side here. They're trying to duel it out a little bit. Aatrox Zero realizes he's in trouble. Merloni getting dropped down really low, and he's trying his best to fight him. Ignite goes dropped down. Merloni getting dropped down really low. Flashbeam going down. First blood going down to Kenwin Jones. Merloni just barely escaping with his life.
Yeah, potion ticking there is probably what saved his life. A couple of minions were actually shooting towards him right at the end there, but he just barely survived that. He doesn't quite have Turtle Stance available yet. No, he just learned it, level 3. So we should be able to sustain back up now. He should be fine this lane, and now he actually has the level advantage over Arda Zero with that gank.
Yeah, and lane Udyr is kind of one of those scary lanes. It can snowball a little bit out of control at some points with the Tiger Stance, or not Tiger, yeah, sorry, Tiger Stance damage that can come out, plus really good sustain that can come up from Turtle Stance. No longer gives you mana back anymore, it's just considered flat lifesteal now. But it is a really good amount considering you don't really have any lifesteal on the build, so it does keep you fairly
Jones
safe.
in the mid lane.
Kenlin Jones getting a little bit caught out though, taking a lot of damage. Soul trying to catch up with him. Looks like everybody's going to walk away from this. Light Binding going across, Panthera just barely dodging it. Gonna go back to lane. Kenlin Jones stealing a minion from Manny, saying, I need a little bit of health. Let me get one of your minions out of you.
Yeah, and as soon as they saw Manny walking forward to defend Jones there, it's like, you're walking through a choke point against a Lux. Yeah, we don't want to chase this. We're gonna back off, just let him get away. And now actually Jones is looking to make an impact on the third lane of the game already.
Jones heading down, habit about to check that Tri-Brush. Actually notices Kenwin Jones, they're trying to run away. Ice Ball going down. The Blade pushing Kenwin Jones back, and everybody's just gonna disengage. Holocaust couldn't quite catch up in time.
Yeah, he's just being a real annoyance right now.
Still in the bottom lane, throwing down a couple Ice Balls. Lunatic Cannon dropped down to about 75% health there.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out, the mid lane, Manny is actually a severe CS disadvantage right now. He started the game about like 1 to 9, now it's about 20 to 32. He's keeping it about where it is, at least. Once he got a few levels up and then just...
See a lot of aggression going down onto the top lane. Merloni getting dropped down really low, still going aggressive with Bear Stance. Using that Tiger Stance to deal some damage. Is forced to back away, getting really low on health and mana here. Getting a little bit zoned out by Anti-Zero.
Yeah, and he is maxing that Tiger Stance first, but now that he's out of mana, that blue buff is finally...
Lunatic getting caught out by an Octopus and forced to use Barrier just to try and avoid too much burst. The Lantern will drop down as well to try and keep him alive, but that is a barrier down now on Lunatic Cannon. Nunu heading back up to the top lane though. Merloni doesn't seem to want to engage, he's a little bit scared of how low he is. Now he's coming in for the chase. And looks like he's just going to back away. Jones just being a nuisance.
Yeah, Jones is just giving his laner a little bit of breathing room there, I would say. Arda Zero, and so far Jones has actually been to each lane at least once by now, so he's already showing to all of them how much of a nuisance he can be just on that Nunu.
You see Nautilus heading down here. I don't think they were aware he was coming. Getting the snare down onto Lollicos. Lollicos trying his best to disengage. Huge amounts of burst damage coming down. He does manage to tumble away. Matsing getting caught out though with the Q. Matsing trying his best to get away as well. Lots of damage coming down. They do escape though. Just a little bit of health. Lollicos living with about 120 health under his belt.
Yeah, they did manage to burn the exhaust out of Matsing there. Actually, Merloni going in Arda Zero top lane. He's taking a bit of damage, but he's a turtle.
The turtle lives forever. He's trying his best to trade with Anti-Zero. It doesn't look like the trading's going all that well in his favor. Kenwin Jones walking over Ward over to top lane. Anti-Zero knows he's coming. Kenwin Jones looking like he just wants to go in anyways and still continue to be a nuisance.
Yeah, I mean, he realizes that Merlonio wants to just keep this advantage that he has. He doesn't really want to leave lane, and he's just being there to zone Arda Zero out for now. Until Merlonio actually decides to go back and finally buy up some items. He's actually sitting at about 1,500 gold at the moment. So as soon as he does buy up, he's going to have a fairly distinct advantage. Now that Arda Zero has gone back for that chain vest, he's definitely...
You see Kenwin Jones getting caught out into jungle, getting dropped down really low with command attack. Soul trying his best to catch up to him. They're using dissonance to catch up to him. Kenwin Jones actually forced to flash and the shield coming out from Inhiki to keep him alive. They won't be able to get away from that, but it looks like he was trying to get in for that blue buff. But it looks like I'm thinking they're keeping timers on their own jungle, so preventing Nunu from doing too much damage to Nautilus there.
Yeah, and that was one thing that SV actually got out of the blue buff. They were able to get the timer on their own blue because they were the ones that cleared the small minions. But because of the ward that Merlonia placed there, they also had the timer. And actually, Manny's sitting on the ward. Expects nope, no engage. As Soul is still only level 4 because of the first blue that got stolen. No depth charge quite available for that, and looks like Jones actually backing off his own blue buff because he got kind of low. I think Manny was banking on the potential steal and just giving over his own blue buff.
She lasered the blue buff, but didn't have vision on it, so didn't actually get anywhere near close enough health. But it was a good attempt. Didn't have any vision, so it was a good try. See a lot of aggression going back down onto top lane here. Melody and Anti-Zero just kind of trading blows here.
Oh, and the bot lane. Oh, wow.
Mixed a kill in the bot lane. That's Singh catching out Twitch there. Probably landed a pretty good Aqua Prison.
No, he actually didn't land the Aqua Prison there. Just missed the stealth up Twitch, but the Condemn still landed. Great position on that. The slows also came out for Matt Singh, and it really just it was a slow kill, and actually the ebb and flow was what picked up the kill on Twitch there, so it didn't quite go to the vein. Still an assist on there for wallet costs, but it's a kill. A kill is a kill, even on the support. It'll count for something.
Absolutely. Does count for something. We see the blue buff being headed over to Manhiki there. Panther looking like he kind of wants to roam bottom. Not really sure where he's going. Looks like he's just going to head back to mid lane now. Manhiki trying to catch him out with a light binding, just juking it out of the way. A little bit of poke damage going down for both of them.
Yeah, and that roam is stopped by that one ward right behind the red buff there. And any time that Pathera really wants to get into either of these lanes to help out, he's going to be spotted. At least for the next minute or two as those wards time out.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a look at some of the build choices here. I actually noticed that Lux decided to opt for a tier. Not necessarily the most popular item that you see on Luxes nowadays. A little bit of aggression going down to Pantera. Light Binding actually being dropped. Shockwave being used as well. Trading blows here. Trading ignites as well. Flash coming up from Manhiki trying to avoid some of the damage. They're still trading blows. Command attack dropping very low. Dissonance being used. Kind of like a little bit of a duel. Pantera being dropped very low, but he will also disengage.
And I want to kind of go back. Oh, actually, no, we have Jones catching out Soul. Or the other way around, actually. But
they're trying to fight each other. Both mid laners are really low. Doesn't look like they want to get involved either. Everybody just kind of walk away from this, not wanting to fight.
Yeah, and Manny was actually the first to pop his potions after that. He still has that ticking up, and he is a little healthier after that previous engagement. Soul actually forced a flash.
Soul is actually forced to flash as he saw Merloni coming down with bear stance. Pretty terrifying giant bear heading towards him, so forced to run away to avoid dying.
Yeah, and Merloni puts another ward down there, gets some potential timer vision on that blue buff, and really just wants to make sure he's alone in this top lane against Arda0 right now. He isn't... going back to the items, he has now the Vamp Scepter and a Longsword against a lot of armor and health on that Malphite already, with the Chain Vest and Doran's shield. Not really enough to duel with him, and now Kevin Jones is running around trying to get...
And he actually getting caught on the mid lane. Soul walking right up to him, gets the snare down, Titan's Wrath being dropped. The Dawn had damage over time, doing a lot of damage. Manhiki trying his best to get a little bit of damage on Pantera. Tries to use Light Binding onto him, does drop down to Orianna though.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier, I kind of wanted to talk about this mid lane matchup. Both, while being high utility mages, it's actually Panthera who will win in the long run, especially if he can keep landing out his auto attacks. His passive will just ramp up his damage over time. Lux has a little bit of that with her own passive, but it's not quite as reliant on...
See a little bit of aggression going down onto top lane. Sorry to cut you off there. Anti-Zero getting a little bit caught out. Ice Ball is being continuously dropped. Bear Stance being used. Anti-Zero flashing actually. And drop down really low. The ultimate being used to try and disengage the fight. Merloni does take a lot of damage, but they do manage to pick up the kill onto Anti-Zero there.
That was a kill of irony. He used the Unstoppable Force to interrupt Absolute Zero, but Absolute Zero is what killed him.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as it was interrupted, the damage ticked and it did the killing blow to him, and he died under his own turret. Pretty needlessly. Burned his own flash and ultimate just for that one death. He still has his teleport up though, but until Unstoppable Force is ready again, I don't expect him to be using that.
Yeah, unless he just wants to get back to lane pretty quickly. Pantera is there to take up that experience though, so Looks like he's just gonna walk back to lane, shrug it off a little bit, try to get some of that CS back in there.
Yeah, and it looks like Merlonio's rushing a Blade of the Ruined King on Udyr. That's... I wouldn't... Oh, and bot lane...
We see a huge chase going down. Tidal's wave actually going down. Lunatic Cannon trying to get the stealth. He does manage to get invisible though. Vanguard being dropped down. They can see him. They accidentally condemn him back into the tower. He does manage to get away safely. Kenwin Jones taking a little bit of damage. Laser coming right across. Barrier being dropped at the last moment. Just barely keeping him alive.
Yeah, and they're heading towards Dragon now. They have 4 team members in the area. Actually, it looks like Merlonio's coming down around this area. No, he's going towards the blue buff. So blue buff and the Dragon now in favor of TSM. And Jones is, although Ellis is around the area, that's a Nunu, you're not exactly going to smite and steal that, and he's just going to absorb the bot lane experience. Make sure the lane stays relatively towards the middle.
Oh yeah, and actually manages to steal the blue buff back from Merloni. I don't think Merloni quite realized. He's going to go a little bit of aggressive onto Pantera here. Pantera trying to kite away with Shockwave, not Shockwave, Dissonance. Using Shockwave actually now. Merloni flashing over to Shockwave. Huge amounts of damage coming down to Pantera. Merloni continues to chase onto him, doing his best to catch up to her. He will drop, doesn't manage to get the kill, but Merloni will fall then to anti-zero, and the blue buff transfers back over to the blue team.
I think he just threw away his lane advantage. Not only did he give over the kill to Arda0, but he also gave over the blue buff, which is absolutely horrible on having it on a Malphite. Now Arda0 is going to be able to really just kind of throw the bullying back towards Merlonio. He's still at about a 30 CS and a 1 kill disadvantage, but the blue buff is going to kind of keep that right a little bit more even as long as it's still on him.
Absolutely. The thing I do want to point out is that although Anti-Zero has died a couple times in his lane, he's winning trades against the Udyr because of all the armor. Tiger Stance now deals completely physical damage. There's no magic damage over time with that spell anymore. So with all the armor he's getting from his W passive and the Chain Vest and Doran's Shield, he's managing to mitigate a lot of the damage, kind of just shrugging off a lot of it and coming out on top of all of these trades.
And I also just want to point out for those curious, he did...
A little bit of aggression going on to Manhiki in the mid lane. Yeah, ultimate being used from Nautilus, so he flashes over the wall, just barely living with the skin of his teeth though. Looks like they're still trying to chase him. I don't think they'll be able to catch up just in time though. Light Binding catching both of them off in the jungle. They will let this kill go. Yeah,
thankfully for Manny there, Soul Splash actually only just came off of cooldown right after that engagement. Actually, Matsing caught the bot lane.
Molokos trying his best to get a little bit of damage. Lunatic getting pushed away though. Looks like they're just going to disengage this fight though. Molokos did pop his ultimate, try to get a little bit of damage onto Lunatic Cannon, and everybody just kind of walks away from that one.
Actually, the bubble didn't land there. I think he threw it onto Molokos for a bit of extra speed. It didn't really
we see Soul heading up to the top lane here, trying to catch up to Merloni. Does use Dredge Line on minions though, doesn't quite get to catch up to him. His ultimate is down from the mid lane battle though, so he is also going to walk away from that. Merloni going back aggressive, even though Soul is nearby. Realizes that Nunu is on his way up there. Merloni getting dropped down really low, Ignite being used. Anti-Zero might be dropped. Kenwin Jones flashes in for the Ice Ball, keeping his teammate alive. Absolute Zero being dropped. Soul trying his best to catch up and try to kill Merloni. Soul being dropped very low. Merloni actually picks up the kill as well. What a great turnaround.
Yeah, they should be able to get the turret out of this as well. Tiger Stance plus Blood Boil should melt it. We saw actually Pantera looking for a little bit of action bot lane, but he was actually walking over a bush that was already pinked and they saw the ward in that. Took out the ward with his own auto attacks, and it looks like the top turret won't be focused down. Merlonio and Jones both really relatively low after that engagement, so it surprises... Well, I mean, they had enough health to push the turret. It surprises me that they don't go for it.
Yeah, what happened was the minions actually died out a little bit quickly, and the next minion wave wasn't at the tower, so I guess they decided to just let it go for now.
It also kind of helps extend the laning phase that actually now Merlonio is back in more of a winning position. The blue buff was transferred down to Kenwin Jones after that kill because he was the one that got it onto Arda0. And, oh, no, missed that sentence in the bot lane. Sensing
myself. See Nautilus kind of hanging around the bot lane here. They don't have vision in that Tribe Rush. Looks like they are just going to walk away though. Matt Singh actually landing a great bubble onto Soul, managing to disengage the gank, and everybody's just going to walk away from that safely.
Yeah, forcing that Nautilus to go for a bit of a swim there just keeps them away and keeping the Vayne safe.
And there we go. Matt Singh doing a great job at supporting, landing all of those Aqua Prisons so far, I believe. Probably only missing 1 or 2 so far. We actually see Pantera still debating on heading back to the bot lane or not. Looks like he's just going to head back to mid. And
yeah, he really wants to help out and get make sure Longcost and Vayne is more behind. Right now they're keeping the lane even, and actually he is at about 15 CS lead over Twitch. Lunatic Cannon not really able to keep up in farm. Actually, Jones is finding Soul in the jungle.
Jones trying to he's in a little bit of a bad position here. Doesn't have anywhere to go. Using Absolute Zero in the bush. Getting Soul down very low. Command Shockwave being used. Ultimate being used down from Soul as well. Kenwin Jones trying to run. Laser being dropped across. Pantera will pick up the kill on Kenwin Jones though. Blue buff transfer. Double buff transfer actually over to Pantera.
Yeah, double buff transfer and refresh onto him right now. Looks like Marta Zero wants a little more action, but he might lose that turret right now, and it will go down. First turret of the game for TS.
Yeah, so Merloni noticed that, I'm sorry, this is a new team, I'm still not familiar with the names. Anti-Zero wasn't in lane, so he did decide to push out that tower and get as much aggression onto it. Pull it off, looks like he might continue to try to push that tower down, or continue to push down top lane, instead of helping roam with his team. Let's take a look at the CS numbers by this point though. 132 on Orianna to Lux's 113. Which does interest me because Lux did decide to go for a tier, which is an interesting build choice because Lux does have kind of that late game power, or mid game power spike. She does have a lot of damage that can come down from Final Spark or Ultimate. But you don't see tier being built on her too often because she doesn't have a lot of spammable spells per se. It takes a little bit of a long time for her to charge that up. What do you think about that?
Personally, I used to be a really avid Lux player, and then I just stopped playing mid for a long time, and I suddenly started sucking with her. That's the 4th bubble I've now seen missed for Matsing, actually. Now it looks like we have a 3v3 in the bot lane. We'll talk about the tiers later. Teleport coming.
Teleport actually coming down onto that bottom lane bush there. On Solo Force with the command protect going down. The Chemijo's getting a little bit caught out, using Ice Ball to try and run away. They're actually going to get away from this. Doesn't look like Pantera used... No, Pantera did not use Shockwave there.
5th bubble. Matsing is a little off tilt right now. But yeah, that was a great disengage with the tidal wave and the condemn actually. Really just
no command shockwave be going down. Maniki and Matsing getting dropped down really low. Longcon popping his ultimate. The box being used down. Absolute Zero being disengaged right away. The laser going down across the entire enemy team. They realize they're in trouble. They're trying to disengage. Lunatic flashing into Longcon, trying to get as much down as he can, using a lot of damage. Longcon tries to turn it around onto him. The lantern will keep everybody safe. Everybody's gonna walk away. That's a 1-for-0 for SV.
Yeah, they're actually all low on both sides after that engagement. Really, with the exception of Matsing, he's sitting at about 2/3 health. They're just gonna run as far away as possible before they recall. And now that Dragon is respawned, it should be a free one for SV.
Yeah, so that'll be a 1-for-1 Dragon. We do see that Merloni pushing out that top tower though. Gonna try and get something out of losing Dragon for his team. So that is a pretty even trade in terms of objectives, but they did lose a kill onto that one as well.
Yeah, Merlonio has snowballed his really advantage in his top lane right now, taking the only 2 turrets down in the game. And that's for about 2,000 gold over for his team that they haven't really been able to pick up as much anywhere else. All the action so far has been in this top lane that's favorable for TSM. Pretty much all the kills against them have been in the mid and bot lane, so they're really relying on this Udyr, if not to win team fights, then to at least apply pressure for the rest of the game.
I think that's what they're planning on doing, is letting Udyr kind of split push all game, keep people away. They do know that Anti-Zero does have teleport. It is down at the moment, but to keep pressure on that top lane, even if they are losing team fights, they might be able to sneak free inhibitors away and keep their advantage going even in team fights.
And one thing I actually want to point out about the Udyr, he's not really building any tankiness at all. He's building, I would say, almost glass cannon, although with the stinger now in there that he just finished off, he's probably going for the likes of something like, what's that called? A Zephyr, yeah. So he's going to get a little tenacity, movement speed, cooldown reduction, all attack speed off that. It's going to really help him really just deal with the Malphite. The extra attack speed kind of works against the ground slam, as well as the tenacity to kind of reduce it. And just look at that Tiger stance. I mean, he's ripping. I didn't even look at the actual number of attack speed he has. He's sitting...
He has 1.4 attack speed, and that's not when he actually activates it. When he activates Tiger Stance, he gets bonus. So he just activated 1.9 attack speed when he activates it. So that's a huge amount of attack speed coming out from him, plus a huge amount of damage that comes out from him as well.
Yeah, against the Malphite now, with especially with the Blade of the Rune King in there as well, it's just going to cut through the Malphite. No really armor penetration there for the Blade of the Rune King passive. At least not yet. But it's there, and that's what counts.
Oh yeah, actually going aggressive onto
R0.
Anti-Zero at top lane here. Doing a fair bit of damage. Anti-Zero doesn't even have a tier 2 turret to run to anymore. He does have a lot of armor. Merloni not doing as much damage as I think he'd like. Merloni actually taking a lot of damage just from a couple attacks. Human Jones coming around his side. Malphite realizes what's going on, gonna back away. Soul coming around his side though. Tank ward actually being dropped near the gates of their base. So it looks like Merloni is gonna continue to put pressure down on that top lane.
Yeah, and one thing I actually failed to even really notice is that because the Sunfire cape is in there, not only... Oh, now we have an engage on Merloni.
Merloni actually getting a little bit caught out in the jungle. Using bear stats, looks like he's going to get away too. Blood Boil with the movement speed also just going to get him right on out of there. Looks like he's going to be fine. Lollicos taken down very low from Twitch's passive. The tidal wave actually being dropped down onto Lunatic there. Not really a response from Lollicos. And yeah, it looks like they're just going to kind of continue going about their business.
What is Matsing? Well, what happened to him? That's at least 6 bubbles he's missed now. At least that.
Oh, Matsing actually getting caught out now, getting the death sentence. Nope, doesn't look like they want to engage on that either. Lunatic taking a lot of damage from Silver Bolts with the Condemn combo. And looks like everybody's going to walk away once again. Soul is heading down here. They do not have vision in either of the brushes, so...
Yeah, for anyone who actually doesn't play Vayne, that's an interesting combo. You might see some novice Vayne players use Condemn for damage and then actually end up saving you. But what he did there, he auto-attacks, he tumbles into an auto to reset the auto-attack timer.
Lollicos actually going aggressive, dropping down Blade of the Rune King. Barrier being used by Lunatic Cannon. Trying his best, he actually does get the stealth, and Lollicos is forced to disengage. Oh, that's a great... Wow, great laser coming out. That was actually blind. He had no idea where he was. Did manage to predict it perfectly and get off a great laser and pick him up from behind his turret. Human Jones actually coming up from behind too. Merloni took a huge amount of damage. Hammett trying to flash away. Flash coming down for both Merloni and Human Jones. They're trying to run away. Command Dissonance using a lot of damage on Jones. Merloni coming back around. Looks like they're just going to go and take this free tower and zone the rest of the team away from it.
Yeah, that snipe on the Twitch was amazing. He wasn't even aiming for the Twitch. I think he was aiming for Soul on Nautilus as he was running down there. Just getting a little more damage. And I could be wrong. He might have been aiming for Twitch. But he hit both of them regardless.
Yeah, that was an actually impressive. I wrote down that time. We'll see if we can get a little bit of a highlight reel later on for that. Around 24-minute mark that happened. It was actually pretty impressive. Pretty much a blind snipe behind the tower that picked up the Twitch. Really impressive. Good play by Manhiki.
Yeah, now they're stealing the blue buff away from Orianna. Both these mid laners actually, again, so similar. They're both very blue buff dependent on the cooldown reduction specifically. The more Orianna can be moved. Oh, bubble lands. And that's a dead Twitch.
Yeah, Lunatic getting caught out by the bubble. Lollicos doing a lot of damage. Does manage to pick him up from under his own tower. This is kind of the snowballing that Vayne looks forward to. Once she gets that Blade of the Rune King, which is a pretty scary threat to deal with because of Silver Bolts proccing, with the slow coming down from Blade of the Rune King and her passive, you're not going anywhere. You're stuck.
And he hasn't even snowballed off of kills really. He's just kept up the CS advantage that he already had and getting it slowly increasing over time. About 35 where it is right now, and he actually has not even that great of an item lead on Twitch. He's even in kills. He actually has no deaths, and Twitch is 3, and actually Manny caught out in the mid lane right now.
And Manhiki getting caught out. He does use Flash. No, my game plan just froze up a little bit. Soul using his ultimate to try and catch up to him. Human Jones is here to try and save the day. Manhiki using his abilities. We're only flashing into Pantera. Humongous amounts of damage coming out. Manhiki will pick up the kill with Light Binding.
Yeah, almost trying to interrupt them with the Shockwave there, but the Light Binding was already in flight. It would have killed him regardless. Shockwave, although it was used, didn't actually go in.
Soul now getting caught out in his own jungle. Jones is using to catch up with them. Merloni using Bear Stance and Tiger Stance. Human Jones picks up the kill on Soul in his own jungle.
That's a fed Udyr. 4-1
yeah, that's a very scary Udyr right now.
Yeah, and now it looks like the pickaxe is going in there finally for a bit of armor penetration in the last Whisper. But, yeah. Now he's finally starting to deal with all the armor that they're building. Actually, I don't even think Soul has any armor. He has the Spirit of the Ancient Golem. Dragons now respawn, so TSM looking for that. And, I mean, it's just... it's Udyr being fed right now. It's keeping up the pressure. He's jumping in really to help in fights whenever he's needed. Even showing up late to ones that are across the map in other lanes, but he does show up and he does win them. Because of the advantage that he's mounted over R0 right now. I kind of want to pay attention to the kill disparity around the team. 4 on Merlonio's Udyr, and 4 on the jungler, and it's not the best situation, and it's really just because none of the kills have really happened in especially around bot lane where you want them on the Vayne. You want her to get ahead. She's evening kills with Twitch right now, up in actually less deaths, no deaths compared to Twitch's 3. 2 assists up, and it's not
pretty
the
significant
ideal.
amount of farm.
Yeah, obviously a lot of farm, but it's not really the place where you want the kills on that they're at right now. It's working because it's keeping the 2 most annoying people just really fed and almost impossible to deal with, but it's not really the best for damage. We were talking actually about the tier thing I might get back to is Matt saying does not get cut out, but he does.
After getting a little bit caught out, taking a huge amount of damage, flashes away, but the Ignite will take off from him from Pantera there. I was actually paying attention to top lane Merloni there. With his Tiger Sense proc, he has 2.4 attack speed. He also bought a Zeal. So he's shredding through everything that comes in front of him right now. Sorry, 2.2 attacks, not a thing.
I'm wondering where he's going with that seal.
I think he might be building a Trinity Force, personally. That's just my opinion, though.
Actually, good point. Because I was thinking Fan Dancer and Static Shiv. I completely forgot Trinity Force for a second. No surprise if he goes that route. They actually will give him a
Maloney going super aggressive. He didn't know that Soul was there, and he did just destroy a ward there. Maloney just using Bear Stance. Not really caring a whole lot. Soul just missing Dredge Line there. Maloney just walking away with Bear Stance and going back to farming, not even caring that it's a 2v1 situation against him, and he just continues to kite away with Bear Stance.
And he was actually losing the 2v1. He didn't really get any damage onto either of the other 2 there. Both of them actually have significant shields. Titan's Wrath and the Granite Shields, absorbing quite a lot of damage there, and also throwing some back at Merlonio. It's him snowballing and just wanting Tiger Stance to do a lot of damage. It's not necessarily a tanky Udyr. The tankiest he has is that Zephyr in there, and the only tankiness, and I quote, air quote, tankiness, because it's only tenacity, it's not actually any defensive stats apart from that. But he actually will get a few more defensive stats if he ends up building that Zeal into a Triforce. A little health on Phage, and actually he goes down again on R0. Only manages to break through the shield, and I would say he's winning the trades, but he's really not. He's actually coming out less in health for them.
Yeah, he's just pushing out the lane. Doesn't seem to really mind taking all the damage. He's just keeping the pressure out in top lane. He's actually heading over to the mid lane here, kind of hanging around the side. As the lanes are beginning to push. Soul actually getting hit with a bubble from around the corner there. And everybody's just gonna kind of walk away, going back to pushing their lanes.
Yeah, and because he managed to take out those 2 turrets in top lane, he can't really push onto the inhibitor until the other inner turrets are down, especially the one in mid lane, just because it kind of keeps the map presence there for SV. And Soul caught by a light binding, unable to chase Kenlin Jones there. They should
Lollicop actually sees the entire team is actually top lane. They're going to be trying to push down this tower. So there should be a free tier 2 bottom tower for TSM.
Yeah, no one's in the area to contest that. They're keeping up the split push strategy. They're preventing the whole wombo combo, just everything out of SB. They're making sure to keep themselves split up not only when they're in fights, but just across the map. They're keeping pressure
Absolute
on
Zero
all
was
lanes.
actually used in mid lane there. Looks like it was kind of cut off halfway through. Pantera was dropped very low. Flash coming down from Lunatic. Lollicos using his ultimate, flashing and tumbling with the stealth to run away. Lunatic timing doing huge amounts of damage. Isn't even in range for the expunge anymore. Trying his best to catch up. Lollicos running with his life. Barely any health. 90 health. If an expunge goes off, he will die. Lunatic using his stealth to try and catch up. Lollicos is still running. Doesn't have that passive to run. Lunatic trying to throw down a slope. Misses. Lollicos will live with his life.
That was intense. The tumble and ambush, it's called, both very good for getting away and really chasing, and we just saw that there. Barely able to get Lollicos away from that. Just Nami was there just to interrupt the chase and keep him at the perfect distance to prevent the final.
Abbott actually getting caught out here. Kevin Jones going right through the box. The box will keep him alive. Laser going down. Merloni was around the corner. Just gets that final proc on. Finishes him off.
And he should get the turret out of this as well. That's a... Or maybe not. Merlonio's getting caught with his distinct lack of tank.
Merloni seems a little bit tanky. He doesn't seem to man. Maniki taking a little bit of turret shots. Soul getting dropped down very low. Merloni finishing off with Blade of the Rune King. Bear Stance is away. Takes down that turret. Looks like everybody's just going to walk away from it. Kevin Jones putting a little bit of aggression down onto Lunatic Cannon. Taking about half health with the laser... Or sorry, with the... I don't even remember what that skill's called. Let me click on Lux.
Final
Where is she?
spark.
Not her E. Lucent Singularity. That's the one. Luna's actually getting caught out. He's forced to use Barrier. Kevin Jones flashing over the wall. Using Absolute Zero on Anti-Zero. Kind of has no way to interrupt them. Kevin Jones is out of mana. Matson coming around. Unstoppable force used on 3 members of the enemy team. Kevin Jones on very low. Holocaust taking a lot of damage. Barrier absorbing the damage from Shockwave. And that was a clean kill on Malphite, but they're all kind of stuck in this tower right now. Matson being generous to tank it for the rest of his team.
Yeah, and that prismatic barrier just very nice for getting out away from that turret.
Merloni's still in the base though, just kind of toying with the enemy team, using his Tiger Stance to get out of there safely. A Lunatic Cannon actually coming in, Laser going across, Matson getting dropped down very low, flashes away, Expunge doing a fair bit of damage, he's still trying to catch up, will run away though. And Merloni also running away, I thought he was going to go back in there.
TSM has to disengage now. They have actually Kenwin Jones and the Holocaust down around this dragon area. They'll look to pick that off very quickly, and they should be able to. Silver Bolt and Consume just rip right through it. Both true damage, both a lot of just burst. I wouldn't say burst damage.
Hanging around the side here, trying to pick up the kill on Kenwin Jones. Kenwin Jones will drop. Holocaust just going to back away, go get that bottom farm. I think there's a little bit tunnel vision on, so that bottom farm really wanted it. It's a huge creep wave.
That was... Okay, just rewind, back up and look at everything that just happened. We saw a bunch of turrets go down, their final inner turret in the mid lane, a few kills back and forth, and really the numbers disadvantage because it all started with Habit getting caught out there that just started that whole long chain reaction. Finally, every turret on the outside of the base for SV is now down, and TSM actually hasn't lost any of their own. Dragon picked up. Dragon picked up a couple kills going back. I think actually the only death there for TSM was Kenwin Jones after the Dragon had died. And it was kind of his own fault just for staying out way too long. Say like Holocaust could have been taking out the Dragon, and then Kenwin Jones wouldn't have been quite as low after that.
Merloni going back to pushing out this top lane. Just constantly applying pressure, forcing somebody, at least one person, to constantly be up here to try and disengage pressure. Soul actually getting Dredgeline onto him. Merloni trying to fight him out as much as he can. Anti-Zero is here as well, using his Q to slow him down. He's using Bear Stance. He does have those Boots of Swiftness. He'll be able to just run away from this. Merloni's still trying to disengage here, using Bear Stance, running around their own side of the map. Doesn't even seem to mind. Running into their own base now. Just kind of running around, doesn't even mind. The rest of the team is catching up here. Looks like they're just gonna kind of let him do his own thing.
But look how many people he's distracting. It gives them free reign on Baron, and they've already started up. Merlonio is just being so much of a pain right now. He's gonna give his own life for Baron.
He's gonna go execute himself onto the fountain by looks of it. Taking his time though, doesn't want to give up too much time. Taking huge amounts of damage. He's getting caught up under it. Flashes away! Goes through the tier 3 tower! Will he survive those turret shots? Does survive, it's a free Baron too!
Oh my goodness, that's the power of the Fed Udyr. Trinity Force is actually completed now. Okay, I want to point out kind of what his build is synergizing towards. He has every single item gives him movement speed. The active on Blade of the Ruined King has the Lunatic actually caught out now. And he's
Lunatic actually getting hit by an Aqua Prism, Holocaust dropping his ultimate down to finish him off. This is huge for TSM here. They have free reign, they have almost a 17k gold advantage by this point. Udyr is free to run around wherever he wants. He had the entire enemy team chasing him around their own base, and they couldn't finish him off just because of how fast he can move.
Yeah, Zephyr, Trinity Force, Boots of Swiftness, now a giant spell there. Probably gonna, I would guess, that's probably going to be Randuin's. Just because they already have a couple of auto attackers on the team. Well, I'd say a couple. I kind of count Orianna as half of one just because of her passive. But it even helps more with the movement speed because it slows people down and just prevents them from chasing you that hard. Which is what he is already doing a great job at. He's kind of solo pushing out that bottom lane right now. And again, TSM are playing this perfectly. Not only do they have Merlonio extremely fed right now, a really big advantage, 616 on him by the way, total gold at 14,000 over his lane opponents, almost 9,000. 5k gold lead just in that matchup alone. And
that is huge.
They have to look now just to continue split pushing, because like I said before, they have to avoid the Wombo combo, and as long as they're split, then SV can't really take them down with their combo.
I do want to point out that SV hasn't even had like a proper 5v5 just because of the sheer amount of split pushing. They can't get all 5 members together, or they have the threat of losing their base for it.
And they have the kiting to be able to do it. Lux, Nami, Vayne, everyone can really disengage.
Only getting a little bit caught out down in his bottom tower. Lunatic Cannon's here. Maloney doesn't even seem to mind. Taking a huge amount of damage. Nautilus ultimate going down for Maloney alone. Taken out very low. He will drop down. Twitch getting the shutdown. That's a 500 gold bonus for him.
Yeah, the one thing that can take him down right now is an AD carry, and that's just about it. As long as Lunatic Cannon is allowed to auto-attack him, he'll be able to kill him. And that's pretty much exactly what we just saw. Spray and Pray used... No, actually Spray and Pray wasn't using that. The lockdown from Nautilus is enough to keep him in range long enough.
Kevin was actually flashing over the wall, getting an ice ball at the Pantera. Absolute Zero being got down. Shockwave being used to interrupt it. Manigi picking up the kill with the laser onto Thresher. SV Soul being dropped down. Double kill. Twitch picking up the kill onto Nunu though. Molokov picking up his ultimate. Dropping down the Twitch. Lux finishing off the kill. Molokov's taking down Inhibitor. Trying to chase down Pantera. Dropping down barrier. Pantera flashing away. Condemn pushes him back into his fountain. He will, but that is a free inhibitor now. RT0 actually getting caught out by his own inhibitor. Manhiki is godlike now.
Yeah, the turret went down the middle of all that. An unofficial quadra for Manhiki there. Inhibitor goes down as well. 4 for 1 for TSM. They don't quite have the health to finish off the game right now. Matzing almost went down to Pantera's auto attacks. And he
laser going down onto Pantera. He does use Command Shield to absorb a good amount of damage. He will walk away from that. Lux using her laser. Super low cooldown. Let's see what that cooldown is right now. 30-second cooldown.
Yeah,
I don't think that includes with the masteries and the items of the Morellonomicon with the cooldown reduction. So I think it's a little bit shorter.
No, 30 seconds is 40% cooldown reduction
okay.
now. Yeah, the latest Lux nerfs were to that ultimate cooldown, as well as her base movement speed. So, blue buff in there with the Morellonomicon, and yeah, that's all the cooldown reductions she has right now. Maybe some in masteries or runes, but item-wise, that's all.
I just noticed, Killen Jones has won a death cap. And yes. He's looking to do quite a fair bit of damage with his Ice Ball and Absolute Zero. Let's see, Absolute Zero, 1,125 plus 575 damage if they get caught in the entire channel. That is huge. That is a lot of damage.
Yeah, and Nunu alone actually has decent AP ratios, especially with the giant like, oh wow, Lunatic can't actually caught by Merlonio, and he is not dead. Yeah.
Merloni just doesn't even cannon, going straight out to Lunatic Cannon, gets wombo comboed, will drop down though, but that was a dead Twitch, so a 1-for-1 trade and 2 ultimates I believe being used there.
Yeah, 2 ultimates being burned on just the Udyr, and actually that's what they're relying on to win teamfights is those ultimates. Since they're on cooldown, actually Panther has a little bit lower of a cooldown on that Shockwave just because of the levels, and now some cooldown reduction on the Athens and Holy Grail. Able to keep that up a little more frequently. Actually, I think I want to say that Manny just bought a death cap for nothing, but I think the blasting bomb is already in there. But yeah, 2 death caps. That's a lot of. I'd say it's a lot of magic damage on TSM right now, but they also have a good amount of physical damage between the Udyr that now has the Randuin's Omen completed and the very fed Vayne right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a really good, strong mix of damage. So it does make it a little bit of a pain to kind of counter build against. They do have. Do they have a runic bulwark? No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Oh, okay.
And they don't really have. I wouldn't say there's enough magic damage on SV right now to really just wait. Yeah. I'm looking at the wrong bulwark side. Yeah, SV doesn't have the bulwark. Soul
taking down really low. Actually flashes away. Lolocos uses Tumble to pick up the kill after the flash. This is a free mid-tier turret, and they're going to get this inhibitor for free as well.
Yeah, Soul flashed after the auto attack was already in flight. He was dead one way or the other. Second inhibitor goes down, and Kim Jones is sitting in the base laughing at them. 2 inhibs down now. 2 lanes of super minions pushing in. They could actually go for the third one, and it looks like they might. It looks like Manny rowing down that direction along with the rest of his team. Decent sized minion wave piling up in that bot lane, and the rest of TSM just kind of sitting in the base either waiting for it or waiting for a good engage.
Yeah, trying to keep them away from going down to that bottom turret as Manny pushes out the wave. We're gonna be able to pick this up for free. There's no way they can stop them. The super minion push just keeps on coming. It's really relentless. Flash coming down from Merloni here. Command Shockwave being used only on Merloni. Laser going down, huge amounts of burst damage. Unstoppable Force used down onto Lollicon. RTX is getting down really low, and Niki's still legendary. Kiwi Joe's picking up, Kiwi Joe's dropping down absolute zero. They pick up another kill on Thresh. They're running back into the ground. They have nowhere to go. Lollicon's getting dropped down really low. Lollicon's picking up the kill onto Thresh. Merloni's still hanging out their base. Pantera picking up the kill with Dissonance. Ultimate going down onto Kenwin Jones. Kenwin Jones just trying to run away. Soul being dropped down really low. Lollicon's popping his ultimate, picking up the kill onto Soul. Drop it down very low. Pantera dropping him down really low. Lollicon's used his barrier to try and stay alive. Lunatic being dropped down really low. Picks up a double kill inside his own fountain. Lux will pick up the kill. That should be game for Team SoloMad.
Yeah, no one really left to auto attack the Nexus or the Nexus turrets right now. Not a lot of AD between Manny and Matsing, but it's enough with the triple super minions. More than enough to finish the game, and it is GGWP for Team SoloMad.